It seems a strange fate that some of history's most feared warriors and intrepid explorers would be reduced to the appellation in modern times of the Skandicuck. Sweden, which has seemed to be the epicenter of the great globalist experiment when it comes to mass third world immigration, has led the charge on progressive liberal ideas. You can see where even their nearby neighbor, the Norwegians, fear seeing their country reduced to Swedish conditions, which is mass crime, violence from migrant gangs, bombed out apartment complexes, and all this just disgusting trash, this anti-civilizational rot that has been permeating their society. And I know it's easy to get down. I know it's easy to look at news headlines and trends and modern day narratives and think there is no hope. These places are doomed. But it also pays to really dig into the data and look at some longer term trends. In fact, as it turns out, there may even be some hope for Sweden, who Vox Populi recently brutally dubbed the dodo birds of humanity. Well, let's hope dodo birds no more. The far right is ready for a slice of real power in Sweden, and this is just of May 11, 2021. The populists who've been battling to shut down immigration into Europe may be heading for a significant breakthrough in Sweden. The far-right Sweden Democrat Party may well have the votes to help the conservative opposition secure a majority after next year's elections, and the evidence is mounting that the traditional right-wing politicians will be tempted to cut a deal to give the anti-immigrant group a say in government. The populist party emergence has tracked the Nordic countries' influx of immigrants and difficulties integrating them. Boy, that's a nice way of putting it. A worsening in gang-related violence in recent years has also pushed more voters to the right, and parties across the political spectrum have taken a tougher stand on migrants in the wake of Europe's refugee crisis in 2015. And this is because we're learning there is no magic dirt. As Owen Benjamin recently put it, the European explorers, when they went to America, they didn't become a part of the Cherokee Nation. We are learning the hard way. A nation is its people, not its land. A nation is its people, its culture, and its shared traditions. And you can see in the graph below, you can see in white the drop-off in Sweden's immigration, and in blue, you can see the improving support for the Sweden Democrats, which is the nationalist party in Sweden. The Swedish Democrat leader, Jimmy Åkesson, said the old arguments for not talking to us no longer exist. He says it's difficult to call us ugly names and at the same time copy our politics. Well, European populists haven't managed the major breakthrough that some people feared was at hand in the aftermath of Donald Trump's victory in 2016. French nationalist Marine Le Pen is stronger than ever as she prepares to take on President Emmanuel Macron, and Italy's Matteo Salvini is still the narrow favorite to follow Mario Draghi. Sweden could prove the bellwether for a broader shift in European politics. As recently as 2017, Ulf Kristersson, the opposition and leader of the moderate party, had repeatedly said he wouldn't even engage with the Swedish Democrats. And that was the year Trump triggered an angry backlash from Swedes when he said at a rally where he linked higher crime to higher immigration. That link is now more widely accepted. And it's just deny, 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 but narratives do not create reality, and eventually the facts do have to win out. Sweden has slashed its immigration by half from its peak in 2016, however. But the Sweden Democrats said they would go much further and aim to repatriate refugees to war-torn countries such as Syria. As I've been saying, it is not just that you're going to see immigration halted, you're going to begin to see repatriation. The Swedish Democrats also want to stop paying benefits for anyone who isn't a Swedish citizen, which is about 9% of the 10 million people in that country. 9% of the people aren't even citizens. Can you imagine? And so even the moderates tweeted on Tuesday that those who are denied a residence permit in Sweden have to return to their homeland. and that the party wants to deny foreign aid to the countries that refuse to take back their own citizens. Sweden is at the top of most global welfare rankings and has traditionally sought to be a safe haven by accepting waves of immigrants since World War II. The country, which grew accustomed to low levels of crime, has witnessed a surge of bombings and riots in immigrant neighborhoods in the past decade. Low crime, then mass immigration and high crime. Sweden also reported it had 10 times more deadly shootings than the UK in the past year, adjusted for population size. Low crime to high crime. A poll on Monday showed that policies on migration and integration remain the biggest priority for Swedish voters. The proportion of those who also point to law and order as one of the most important issues is greater than ever at 22%. Maybe they should run on the defund the police slogan. So the Swedish Democrats, a party once shunned across the entire political spectrum, first made it into parliament in 2010 and is now the third biggest in Sweden by 2018. I'm telling you, these big pendulum swings, it takes about 10 years, but there's a lot of positive developments that will occur over that 10 years. Just think back to the rise of the radical social justice woke left. Guys like Rushvi were writing about it, I believe, 2008 to 2012. There was a lot of discussion. It was in the academic circles. It was kind of out there on the fringes, and then exploded into public consciousness probably around 2014, 2015. So it still has time to burn itself out, but that's kind of how these phenomenons manifest. And so the right is positioned in much the same way. It's been out there on the fringes for quite some time, but now we're seeing it begin to claim real political power and rising to prominence very quickly. And the good news about these right-wing political movements is that they are grassroots. A lot of the leftist stuff was astroturf, top-down. It was funded by billionaires. There's hardly a billionaire out there that isn't a far-left radical, because it's just a way to use well-intentioned people as useful idiots to concentrate power in the hands of a few. It's just a movement to solidify their power, not just financially, but politically as well. You don't really think that Soros or Bill Gates has good intentions for humanity. And here's an interesting fact. About 675,000 adult immigrants in Sweden are dependent on government benefits. This is a population of about 10 million, so you're dealing with about 10% of people there that are immigrants that are on the public dole. And deny it and fight it as they will, intellectuals, and this guy, Professor Hinfors, said, we have a right-wing bloc again, with a nationalistic social conservative party weighing heavily within our four-party constellation. And it's not just in Sweden. Although the Swedish elections have highlighted this trend, center-left parties across Western Europe are collapsing. This graph is from 2018, but it's incredibly revealing to see these greater trends. This goes from 1998 to 2018. You can see left-wing parties across Europe are collapsing in popularity. You can see Portugal from nearly half the country to only a third. Germany, 41% to 21%. Spain, 35% to 23%. The Netherlands, an incredible 30% down to 6%. France, 24% down to 7%. Even Tony Blair in the UK says the progressive left faces extinction. The Labour Party needs complete deconstruction and reconstruction. Nothing less will do. I wonder if people on the left believe in anything other than complete reconstruction and deconstruction. Like, you can just improve things. You can build on the past. You don't always need to disintegrate and demolish things down to rubble. There's a reason our traditions and institutions that have endured for hundreds of years, if not longer, have endured as long as they have, because they work. It's absolutely a bizarre line of thinking. But anyway, and it's not just the political stuff. You can see the military. The Australia defense chief bans all woke events which distract from the military's mission. We're realizing, countries like Russia and China, they're very serious countries. Their militaries are not messing around. We're busy playing little silly leftist games. There's a real world out there that needs to be faced. We saw Emmanuel Macron received a letter from 20 generals and over 1,000 active duty soldiers saying, we need to do something about radical Islam, or they threatened a coup. Even Canada, governed by uber-liberal Justin Trudeau, is beginning to take a turn to the right. And we can see it not just in politics and in military and people that have to become more serious. Even in the culture war, we see Disney posting massive losses. We see more and more woke corporations facing real pushback from their anti-white agendas. You see critical race theory being banned across conservative states in the United States. But the lesson we all seem to really be learning is the one our grandparents and their parents all understood. It's that freedom isn't free. Everybody has got to do and play their part, not as a collectivist thing, but as individuals. We will all have different opportunities in life to make a wise decision. No sense in charging out and trying to make yourself a martyr, but you can see the legal stuff, there's pushback. In the workplace, there's pushback. In the schools, there's pushback. Just talking and socializing with friends and family and having these discussions. There's very few people, once they're exposed to true information, that just turn their back on it. Well, they do exist. There are those that are fully ideologically possessed. And just let them be. There's no sense in it. But everybody, there is a role. There is a purpose you can play. And, history belongs to whoever wants it more. There is no foregone conclusions out there. And as frustrating as it can be to look at the landscape of events out there, it is important to keep your eye on the long-term trends. And it's inspiring to see the actions of more and more Westerners as they wake up and realize open war is upon us, whether we would risk it or not.